Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's now time for our main event. Take a trip back in time to the golden era of the wrestling world with your host, Chris Tetrold Blade. Welcome to Once Upon a Turnbuckle.
Welcome to another very special episode of Once Upon a Turnbuckle. And this week we delve back into the new wrestling superpower, which is Pro Wrestling Karnage, with a guy who's had quite a hand in it, as well as being the other half of the big main event, which I've covered recently with Cayman. Welcome to the show, Dangerous Danny Owens. How are you, mate?
Thank you for having me. I'm good. How are you?
All good. Yeah, all good. Thank you, mate. All good. And I said to Cayman that I would get your side of the story as to obviously what happened at the end of that event. We'll get into that.
That was a lot to tell.
Can't wait to hear it. Can't wait to hear it. But as normal, really, I think, well, firstly, congratulations for being a part of Pro Wrestling Carnage and what you've done so far. It's really, really impressive to see, for your first event, what went down.
It's been a graft.
But it's all been worth it, I suppose, on that night.
Oh yeah, definitely. 100%.
Yeah. Cool. Like I say, we'll get more into that down the line. What I want to do to begin with, like I do with a lot of my guests, really, is strip it right back. So in terms of wrestling, where and when you discovered it first for yourself, if you can remember that moment that kind of hooked you in. Were you a fan before you started sort of deciding to get in the ring yourself?
Yeah, I was a fan. I was living in Cardiff with my parents, and we decided to move closer to my nan after my sister was born. And I got friendly with the next door neighbour's son. We become friends. He had a load of wrestling DVDs. I was around, I want to say 9.
Right.
And I didn't know what wrestling was. So I asked him, what's all this? And he was like, take one of these videos, have a watch, see what you think. I can't remember what event it was, but all I remember is that it was a small person match. I'm being PC now. A small person match.
Yeah.
And Sonny was the guest referee.
Yeah.
And it had I remember the mini gold dust, and I can't remember many
other
that were in the match.
Okay, I do remember vaguely that. Yeah, like Max Mini, I think he was around back then. Yeah.
And I thought they were kids, so I was like, I could do this. I'll just have to put on some pounds. But then started watching continuously. Then we got Sky, and we found Raw and SmackDown.
Okay.
So got into it then around 2001. No, wait there. Yeah, 2001.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting year to be a wrestling fan back then.
It was very good.
Yeah.
So I become a hardcore fan from then, and I've not looked back since.
Cool. So was there any moment or star or both that kind of really hooked you in that you remember as that eureka moment almost, where you're like, that's something that I really want to do?
So everyone's gonna go for Austin or The Rock, people like that. I love Booker T.
Okay.
Because of his music. His music was fantastic.
I love that. Yeah.
I remember staying up late, and my mother would work nights, so my nan would be looking after me. She'd have gone to bed. I'd be watching Raw or SmackDown. I can't remember which way they went. One on a Friday, one on a Saturday. Back in those days. And Booker T's music playing, and me trying not to nod off. But as soon as his music was playing, I was awake. I was there. I was watching.
That's cool.
RVD was another big one. I loved RVD. But obviously, as I've got older and into the business and been watching things back, Flair is all time.
Yeah,
my favorite.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think Flair, I think I've said it on one or two of my shows before, when Flair came back in that sort of era, I stopped watching it around about that time, oddly enough. I kind of fell off it for about 15 years. But I knew when he came back, just sort of after WCW folded, he did a lot of out of the ring stuff where he was like the GM. Then he got back in the ring and I was kind of like, I don't know why he did it, really, because he wasn't a patch on what he was before when you go back and you sort of see the old stuff. But
well, that was the first time I seen him, was when he come back and he was the co-owner with Vince, and I thought he was great then, but didn't know the backstory of him, didn't know what had gone on. And then after I started watching, NWA and stuff like that, it blew my mind.
I bet. So you got an appreciation for the old school stuff as well, sort of going back?
I like to think that my sort of style is based on old school stuff, especially now that I'm tagging with Brewski Blanche. We've sort of gone to like, old school tag stuff, things that like people don't use anymore, like grabbing the leg when you go for a tag and stuff like that.
I think from what I see of the current stuff, really what WWE has been putting out, to be honest, my main reference point for this is the tag team scene really has dropped off. Back when I started watching it, we're talking about late 80s, early 90s, it was massively respected. You had some fantastic guys. I think about Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard. You had the Rockers back then, guys like that. And there isn't really, then they just started putting singles guys together and making them the tag champs. And there was no identity anymore as a team. So this is your team just sort of jumping forward then. This is Beers and Beatdowns. Am I right?
That's right, yeah.
Cool. So we can jump around a little bit. So talk about how, your main influences. Are there any main influences as a team? Like you just mentioned, is there anyone you refer back to for that?
We watch a lot of old stuff and we take little bits from different teams. Like we take some of the Heart Foundation, we take some of Demolition.
Awesome.
We just take little snippets from each one and then we'll just mesh it into our own sort of thing.
Cool.
We've had, I think since we started, we've only had 2 tags together, but they've been very, very fun. I've really enjoyed them. And I've always hated not hated tag team wrestling. I've actually hated wrestling in tag matches myself.
Interesting.
But I'm really enjoying it at the moment.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. I think if you've got that unit, that identity together, there's a lot of things you can do with that. Like, again, that I know I've not seen footage of it. I've seen pictures and whatever of what you did to Cayman after you won the Battle Royal, for example. Good old fashioned beatdown after it, just to set up that main event. I remember that sort of stuff happening.
Yeah,
that's cool. That's cool.
That's what we tried to do with Karnage. We tried to do like some of the new style stuff, but then incorporate some of the old school elements as well. So it was a bit different from other places.
Yeah, it makes you stand out. And it's one of the things that made me in a way fall out of love with where the wrestling business was going for so long, is that it was going in a completely different direction, and it seemed to leave. I know things have got to move with the times, but it seemed to leave or influences from the old school days at the door, and it just didn't really seem to be. There wasn't any reference back to it, and I thought that's what made the sport as big as it became. But no, it's great to see that you're still hanging on to those, and that's coming back.
I love it.
That's cool.
I watch the old stuff more than the new stuff. Still. But
have you got a favorite era, sort of, or a favorite promotion or whatever that you go back to within that time?
I love NWA. I always have. I'm loving what they're doing now at the moment as
I was
well.
going to say, when I found that, I think last year, whenever I thought it was brilliant that they were still, and they're doing it so true to again what it was.
Yeah.
In a
But yeah, and NWA in the 80s, I think. I love 80s wrestling.
yeah. I think you put, against something else I've said, to many in the past, you put the two rosters together side by side, probably 88, 89, you got the WWF against the NWA. And I would, the NWA on paper had the better shows, I feel, when you got Flair, Sting, Freebirds, Road Warriors, even Luger, really, to a certain degree. I was brought up on Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior, but I quickly tired of them. There's not enough depth in there for me. But so winding it slightly back again. So that moment that you decided wrestling was something you wanted to do. So how did you get into it, sort of physically, like start training? Was there a lot going on? Because I know there's a lot of promotions in Wales now. Was it like that back then? Was there a lot of avenues to go down?
When I started, I think there was only one in Wales, in the whole of Wales, and that was Orig Williams. But then came and done his thing with NWA Hammerlock and bought a training school to Cardiff. Me and my friend I'd stay over his house and we'd watch all the pay-per-views together. He found a training school. He messaged Cayman. He was like, "Do you want to come with me?" It's like, yes. But at this point, the training school was the first Sunday of every month. Right. That was it. Yeah. So we tried our best to get there all the time, but the first couple of months we just couldn't find the venue.
Okay.
That's all. It was in Cathays. We just couldn't find Cathays at all. Parking up in the Lidl's car park, not knowing that we're literally opposite the training school. But we eventually found it. We came and give us his number because we've been saying, look, we've been coming, but we can't find the place. It was like, get to Lidl's, give me a call when you're outside. So we did, and then all of a sudden, all we see is this big giant of a man walking out the gates, and oh man, me at 12 years old, tiny, looking up at this great big giant was very intimidating. And he took us into the room. We done basics, lockups and bumps and stuff like that. And I think the first thing we done was lockups, and I was so embarrassed by like just doing it.
Right.
I don't know what it was. I think it was because there was a lot of people there, and I felt like people were watching me, when really the only person that was watching me was Cayman.
Yeah.
As he was circling everyone that was doing it. But I felt like everyone was watching me, and I got really embarrassed. But after I seen that everyone else was having the struggles that I was with, like the bumps and the lockups and that sort of stuff, I sort of calmed down a bit.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm just the same as these guys.
Yeah.
It's cool. And yeah, that's how it started. And then every month, non-stop. And then it started going weekly. And then it moved to Ed Ferris took over and went to Newport. So I was there for a little bit. And then Cayman started back up. And then he went to Merthyr. And I was there for a very long time. Cool. But yeah, Cayman's my main trainer. I had seminars with a lot of other people in between. But yeah, Cayman was the one.
Oh, is there any particular lesson or some kind of trick that he bestowed upon you from back then that really still is with you today?
Yeah, when you're throwing punches or kicking people, make them look real. You can apologize after if they're too hard.
Got you. That's fair enough. Yeah, but the people watching, they want to feel like they're watching. I mean, yeah, everybody knows, what goes on behind the curtain, I suppose, these days. But you really want to suspend your reality for those moments believe it as much as you can. So,
And I know that match with me and Cayman, we laid them in because we're of the same mindset.
cool. Well, yeah, you know, throwing it all out there, especially for the first show, I suppose that's really important. But let's talk about that then. So the first event, the first mutation. Tell us what that night was like from your angle, because I've spoken to Cayman, obviously, you know, the returning hero and everything like that. What was it? What was going on sort of in your head through all of that?
Excitement more than anything, because me and Cayman have been penciled in at a couple of shows a few times, but it just never happened. And I didn't think it was really going to happen. We had a joke going that he's going to pull out on the day.
Okay.
So I didn't believe it was going to happen until he got there, and he was like, he calls me Smurf. That's the nickname he gave me when we were training.
Right.
And when he got there, he was like, "See, I did turn up, Smurf." Yes. But other than that, it was a busy day for me, obviously, because I was organizing it as well. So I was trying to get everything ready. So I didn't get much chance to speak to him. And we've got a monitor backstage behind the curtain where we're connected to the referees with a headset. So if a match is going overtime, we can be like, yeah, tell them to go home. And stuff like that, or if anyone gets hurt, vice versa, they can get hold of us and be like, "Oh, so and so's hurt." Luckily, that didn't happen. But I didn't get to talk to him about the match until probably the match before.
Right.
So I was like, right, I gotta, and I had bits in between because obviously Blanche had a match and I was supposed to be going out with him. We had the opening promo. We had the Rumble where we attack Cayman after. So yeah, it was very busy. But then Cayman said to you the other day that when we were waiting and the music was hitting, there was a moment that it was finally happening. It got very emotional. But
is it like your WrestleMania moment almost?
Yeah. It was it was crazy. I remember like his music playing, and he didn't want to tell you who it was, but I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna go full.
Yeah.
So it was me, Cayman, and Blanche, and we were all we've all known each other for so many years, and it was just the three of us behind the curtain, his music playing, goosebumps.
Yeah.
Like Cayman just bobbing up and down, getting ready. Me just going like, "This is crazy." And then me giving him a big hug. And as soon as that hug was finished, he was out there with his Raw, and he went. My music hit, and it's the first time that I've got to do it in a while as well, because of obviously the pandemic and stuff.
Yeah.
So I had a few little spots in the show beforehand, but listening to my music play and coming out, it was something else. And usually with my entrance, there's a part of the song where I get up onto the apron, I get in the ring, and then on the beat drop, I'll get up on the second rope. That didn't happen. I done the whole on the outside, then went around again, and I milked it for all it was worth. It was fun.
Why not?
I loved it. It was amazing.
Brilliant. Oh man, that's brilliant. So obviously the match itself, from what I've heard, and what you said as well, quite brutal. You sort of didn't hold back. So what happened in the end, really? Because obviously, you know, two sides to every story. Came and said clean win. I've not seen anything, so you know, tell me your side, mate.
Me and the referee have had a problem for years. I reckon it was a fast count, but you know, Cayman will say it was, and the referee
Yeah.
will say it weren't. But I think the referee was biased. I think it was a bit of a fast count.
Might have got caught up in the moment, maybe.
This is, but I don't think that's the excuse.
Is there a rematch in the works? Do you know? Obviously, you hope there is. Sure.
I don't know. I don't know. Possibly, maybe in the future. I doubt it'll be for the belt if
Okay.
it ever does happen, but I'd like to have another match with him.
Yeah.
It was obviously his first match as well.
Mm.
My first match back in a while.
Mm.
So we kept it simple. We didn't go too long. So I'd like to have a bit more of an intense, longer match with him. Once both our cardio is back up to where it should be, because I put on a few pounds since the start of lockdown.
Who hasn't? And that was gone. I was going to move on to that actually then. So obviously, talking about Pro Wrestling Carnage as a promotion, sort of where it came from. You've obviously had a lot to do with starting it up, I believe. Have you? What's your role in it, and sort of your involvement in it? When did that go back to?
So it was my idea. I've wanted to run a promotion for a very long time. I talked to the partner about it, and she was like so supportive. She sort of gets it because she used to wrestle as well.
Okay.
So that's how we met. So she gets it. She was really supportive, and then I had two friends that I talked to them about it, and they were like, "Oh well, if you haven't got the funds you need right now, let's do it together." I was like, "Right, okay, yeah, the three of us, we've got this." And it started with like just planning out stuff on how we think it'll go, and then as soon as we decided to publish the Facebook page, within 2 days having like 200 likes and follows on there, and not announcing anyone, just saying, right, this is what's going to happen.
That's brilliant.
It was crazy, and then we were like, right, okay, we've got to keep this hype. And I think, to be fair, considering we've had lockdown during the majority of everything that we've done on Facebook, we've done really well, because as soon as those tickets went on sale, not us not knowing when the pandemic's going to end or the lockdown's going to end, we were just like, right, let's go for this date. We're going for the 28th of August, 2021, and let's hope for the best.
Yeah.
And luckily, a couple of weeks before lockdown finished, all the restrictions and everything, so we were like, yes, but we were pretty much sold out like weeks before.
That's amazing.
So I think the ticket sales went up, and I think within a month or month and a half, we were sold out.
That's fantastic.
Just because of all the hype that we've been posting, we'd get the wrestlers to do promos and stuff like that, just so we've got content rather than just post with words.
Yeah.
All the guys that are working for us are fantastic. Anything we ask them to do, they'll be like, not a problem, and they'll do it.
Yeah.
We've got a really good roster. All the guys are fantastic, and I love them all to bits. And they made that show just as much as me, Kai, and Dav. And Blanche. Blanche helps out as well. Sorry, Blanche.
Don't forget.
He helps out as well. He does a lot.
Cool. So I guess after all that, it's a very emotional night. That first event out there. Did you have a feel that it was going to be a success, or was that, were you still a little bit nervous about what it was going to turn out like?
Well, I've been to a lot of shows, and they've never really sold tickets in advance. So I was, even though it wasn't my show, I'd always be at the show, and I'd be worried about the amount of people that are going to turn up.
Mm.
But luckily for this show, we'd sold out. So I was like, right, we know there are going to be people there.
Yeah.
We haven't got to worry about the people. We've just got to worry about equipment messing up. Or we bought a ring, and the ring, I think, about 5 days before the show. It'd taken months, so we had to get a backup plan for the ring, which was a nightmare.
Well, knows how some of the supermarkets aren't getting their deliveries. I can imagine, how.
So, but the ring turned up. Luckily,
that's good.
It turned up on time. So we were good. As soon as we got the ring, I knew we were set. On the day, I sort of took charge of everything. So I was doing 100 different jobs and running around. And my mother was there from 1 o'clock, the same time I got there. And I think I talked to her the whole night, about 10 minutes in total.
Really? Wow.
And because I was doing the ring, and then I'd start doing the production stuff. And then I go back to the ring for 10 minutes and then go back to there. The only thing I think really went wrong was in the opening promo, I didn't check the batteries in one of the microphones. So the mic died. And then we didn't have enough room on the stage for the projector, so we couldn't play the music videos. We had the entrance video.
Okay.
But other than that, it all went smooth. I don't think there was a bad match on the card.
Yeah.
Some were better than others. Obviously, my match of the night, personally, was James Ellis versus Sam Parker. And a lot of other people have said that as well.
Cool.
But every match was fantastic. You had a bit of everything. You had the technical match with Joel Redman and Marcel Leon. You had the comedy stuff with Blanche and Endless Lee. You had the brawling with me and Cayman. You had the tag with the tag team match. You had everything just all in one show. So you had whatever style of wrestling you liked, there was something for everyone. So I think it went really well in that respect.
It's a cracking launching pad, really, to be the first one. What's next? Talk about the next event, because I know you've got at least one or two out there that you're promoting, I think, at the minute.
Yeah, we've got October the 30th, which is in Pencoed again. That's going to be a little Halloween special. So maybe some of the guys will dress up. Who knows?
That'll be cool.
Maybe I'll dress up as Blanche and you can dress up as me. There he goes.
That's easy, isn't it, really?
Just swap t-shirts.
That's it. Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, we're looking forward to that. I'm not sure what's going to happen yet. I really haven't planned that far ahead yet. I know the guys that are going to be working on the show. Unfortunately, we can't get Joel Redman back for this year. He's unavailable on the 30th because he had other commitments for other promotions, and then for the next show in November on the 13th, his missus is due to have a baby 2 days after, so wow. he's having a few weeks off.
I interviewed Joel a little while ago for this show. Great guy.
Oh, he's fantastic.
I've actually got tickets. It's my first wrestling show I'm attending for 5 years, and he's top of the bill down there in Tavistock. And he'll be up against Doug Williams. So,
I've seen that advertised. It looks fantastic.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Another one that's another fantastic guy. That match is going to be fantastic.
It will be. Yeah. Is there any others? I mean, not to kind of spoil your secrets. Are there any others that you've got in the pipeline? Like, these kind of.
We've got a few. People got to remember that Blanche, he's got the book with me, so we book together. We've been around a while. We know a lot of people, a lot of good people. Yeah. We've got a few surprises up our sleeve.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. On that note, because I know Cayman spoke about it. Again, we're not turning this into the Cayman show. He's had his chance. He's got his own podcast. We're not going to keep talking about him. But he mentioned a match that he had quite memorable with Steve Corino, and I know you shared a memory of that as well recently.
Yeah.
Apart from obviously, your experiences with Steve Corino, firstly from that night, did you have any sort of dealings with him at all?
Yeah, he when he come to the venue, he seen that me and another trainee Ed were pretty young. I think we were around 15 at the time. And his son was, I think, around 10 or 11. And he started talking to us and he was like, "Do you mind watching my boy?" And we're like, "No, of course, that's fine." So the whole night, a little Colby Carino was running around and jumping over the walls. And
It's amazing.
yeah, we had to keep him in line. So we're like, "Right, stop doing that." We were also had to go on the door. So as we were stamping people's hand to say that they've paid, he'd grab the stamp and stamp me. So if you've seen the picture, I'm full of stamps, and that's why. And now seeing how far he's got, he's gone to the NWA now.
Oh wow, okay, didn't realize that.
He's doing some really fantastic things, and yeah, I remember that little kid that stamped me to death. And then after the show, I took him backstage to go and see his dad, and he thanked me and he gave me a little bit of cash for watching his boy.
Ah, there you go. Well,
So that was
what a guy. Are there apart from Steve Corino, then are there any other sort of what you consider sort of wrestling heroes of yours, maybe that you've been around or you've got to sort of perform with over the years?
Eugene was a big one.
Okay, yeah,
all pretty much all to do with Cayman because he was the one booking them.
sure.
But yeah, Eugene was fantastic. Such a nice guy. I had a little chat with him. Tracy Smothers was amazing.
Oh wow, yeah.
We had a seminar with him as well, and like his knowledge was like amazing. I've got so many that it's like the majority of the people are people that used to work for Celtic on a regular, but now they're in WWE, like Tyson T-Bone. I thought he was a great guy.
Okay.
He done a lot for me in the past. Never beaten me though.
There you go.
So and it was nice catching up with him a few weeks ago. He done a training seminar in Newport, so me and Blanche went up to and we went to see him and we had some dinner, and yeah, that was pretty cool.
That's good.
But yeah, it's people like that. People I'd like to meet though. I need to meet Ric Flair. I did meet quick story. I did meet Shane Douglas once.
Okay.
A like Q&A thing.
Yeah.
In Newport, and the majority of his stories were how he hated Ric Flair. And I'm like, right, okay. I had this blue jacket on. Didn't realize what t-shirt I was wearing underneath. I was wearing my Ric Flair t-shirt.
Sure. Yeah.
So we were going to have photos. The venue was hot, so I unzipped my jacket. Had a photo with him, and he was like, "That's funny, kid." I'm like, "What?" Shit. Right. But yeah, it was yeah, that was the he found it funny though, luckily.
That's all right then. Yeah. I've read a few different stories about him. I like to think that he's got a sense of humor, even if it's a dry one.
Yeah, he seemed good. It was a good Q&A session, to be fair. It didn't last as long as I liked it to, because it seemed like he was just getting into the stride of it as it finished.
Okay.
But it was good. But yeah, I've met a few people. We've had Kevin Thorne on Celtic shows and stuff like that. But yeah, it's been a few people that I've met, a few people that have been really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, the majority of the mainstays in Celtic, I think.
Cool. Moving back to yourself for a little bit, obviously, that's why you're here. Talk about you as a wrestler now, as a performer. What is your persona, firstly, for anyone who isn't familiar with your in-ring stuff? You know, can you kind of sum it up? What kind of person you are in the ring?
Yeah, I look like a biker. I got the leathers, the jeans, the black boots, probably the beanie. The only thing I don't have is the bike. And I'd probably kill myself if I tried to ride one. So
no Undertaker-like entrances anytime
no.
soon. Okay.
Unless I'm holding on to someone on the back.
Might spoil the image a little bit.
But yeah, a brawler. I can do some technical stuff. But my go-to is like old school heel, choking on the ropes, give him a couple of punches, a couple of kicks, do a big move, and yeah, so that sort of thing. I've but it changes depending on who I'm fighting. So with Cayman, we had a all-out brawl pretty much. But then I've wrestled people like Sid Oakley, and we've had a good wrestling match. We had a series of 3 matches, and the first 2 were good, solid wrestling matches, where the third one was the last man standing. So that was a bit more
brutal.
Yeah, a bit more intense. But yeah, I'd say more of a brawler than anything.
Okay. Is there anyone in particular that's influenced that side of you? Then sort of, again, probably harking back to kind of the question I asked earlier about your main influences and that, but you yourself as a performer.
Not really. I've always wanted. I think I've taken some stuff from like, Terry Funk, in the way of the way he sells. Okay. He was always really loud and over the top with his selling, and that's the way I've been since I started wrestling. Was really loud. I just sort of change it up a little bit with the gimmick now. But the gimmick I feel can work as either both face or heel, because it has. I've done the whole heel thing, turned face, done exactly the same stuff. Right. So the eye rakes, the choking on the ropes, but I'm getting cheered for it instead. So it can work either way, just depending on how I am to the crowd, sort of thing.
I think Steve Austin busted open that kind of tweener thing, didn't he? Yeah.
But I love it. I've had advice off different people on little tweaks that I could make, and I've tried it out, and some have stuck, and then some have I'm not really into that. I'll sort of put that one to one side. But at the moment with the tag team, which is going to be the majority of the stuff now, with Blanche being part of it, we just we bounce off each other, because we're best mates outside the ring as well, which helps. Yeah, because we can have our inside jokes when we're out the ring, and we can laugh. Yeah, and people will boo us, but they haven't got a clue what we're talking about, which makes it more funny for us. So
makes it more organic, doesn't it?
Yeah,
you're not trying to force anything there.
So it's really good. He's been a bit paranoid about the entrance. He was like, right, you need to do your thing, and then I'm going to come under, and then we're going to raise the beers. I'm like, let's just do it.
The more laid back you are, I think, particularly if you're a heel. I don't know, the heels that I loved watching back then were the ones who just sauntered to the ring. The boos were going over their head. They were just kind of, they didn't give a shit, And
I'm one of the guys that when I go out there, I'll start getting the booze, I'll hold up the beer, and then I'll be in everyone's face while drinking the beer.
Brilliant.
On the way to the ring. I'll be in everyone's face. But then again, it depends on the crowd. If there's a majority adult crowd, you can get right up in their faces and try and get some super heat, or like if there's children, you sort of tone it down a little bit. So I had Karnage, and that was majority adults in the audience. So it was high intense Danny Owens, and then on Sunday there was a show where we had majority of children, so it was really turned down, but the kids hated us anyway.
Okay, fair enough.
We come out, didn't know if we were face or heel yet, and we held up beers, and they were just like, alcoholics. Here we go. Yes, got them straight away. Haven't done a thing yet. Just held up a beer. So it was great.
But let's take down the fourth wall then. Is it actual beer in there that you're enjoying on the way to the ring, or have you kind of got a?
Yes, it is.
Awesome. There we go. Ideal.
You've got to have a beer on the way to the ring, because one of the guys on Sunday didn't believe it was real beer, because when we took the beer in the ring, had a couple of sips, and then we were like, right, where are we going to put this beer? Found a little bit of the bar, so we put it on the bar, and he was like, is that real beer? I was like, have a sniff. And he was like, yep, that's real beer.
Brilliant.
This is real beer.
I often wondered with those, what Steve Austin had, those Steve Weisers, whether they were or not, because the amount of them that he used to seem to get through at the end of a match was, but there we go,
Oh, we went through a couple on Sunday. At Karnage, I think I went through half a beer maybe.
Right.
And then I think Sunday, I went through like 3/4 on the way to the ring, and then we were the last match before a Rumble, and we got destroyed at the end of the match. We got beat down by the Faces after we tried to hit them.
Yeah.
And then I was just like rolled out, grabbed a couple of beers. I'm trying to wake Blanche up by pouring beer in his mouth, and I think he drank the whole bottle. and then the guys for the Battle Royal are coming out, and we're still in the ring just sipping on beer. If there's someone we like going past, we like going some beer, and they take a sip. Yeah, it was quality. It was really good.
That's brilliant. We got a little bit off tangent here, only because this is a real kind of just from my sort of fanboydom, I suppose. When I was growing up, the one thing I was absolutely obsessed with was the title belts.
Yeah, I
would be taking apart the amount of board games that lost their cardboard boxes to my array of homemade title belts. The one that you've got as the heavyweight championship belt for Pro Wrestling Carnage is probably the best one I've seen.
Thank you.
It's a thing of beauty. But how do you go about designing something like that? Did you come up with these concepts yourself? Did you know what you wanted, or did you work with someone else?
It was literally the three owners, so me, Kai and Dav, and Blanche. Then in a group chat, we were all on Messenger, like video chatting, and we were like, what do we need this belt to look like? What do we want it to look like? I was like, I want a red strap. I want the leather to be red because it'll stand out. Our colors are red.
Yeah.
Have our main strap red. So everyone agreed to that. So we were like, right, great. And then we're thinking about what could go on the belt and what shape the belt needs to be. So we sort of went for like a circle, and then we sort of designed the tags and the card strap before the heavyweight. So, and they were both circle. So we were like, right, okay, we need to stay away from circle because them two are circle.
Yeah.
And then Blanche was like, why don't we make it the shape of the old IC title?
Yes.
And we're like, yes.
Probably the best, next to the Winged Eagle, the best title belt.
Yeah.
In history. Yeah.
So we're like, yes, let's do that. So he done a little squiggle on some lined paper. He was like, right, it needs to be this shape. What do we put on it? I was like, how about we do just like a big logo in the middle? So we have our logo in the middle, so everyone knows what belt it is. Heavyweight champion, and then like make it look like there's cracks in the belt. Go into the middle, and they were like, right, okay. So we sort of like sketched it out, and none of us can draw, so it was a terrible sketch. And then I sent it to one of my mates, Stevie, and I was like, he draws a lot. If you've gone on my Facebook or anything, I've got a t-shirt. Hold on, I might have it. Yes, I do. So I don't know if you can see it. So he drew that for me
That's amazing.
because my nickname was Smurf.
Yeah.
So he drew my gimmick as a Smurf. And I've pasted it over t-shirts. But he done a lot of drawing. So I sent him the awful drawing that we had. I was like, make this into a masterpiece, make it look pretty. This is what our heavyweight title is going to look like. So we sent us back his drawing the next day, and I sent it to the boys, and they were like, that is absolutely amazing. We need to get it done. I was like, okay, that's our heavyweight belt. The Outbreak belt, which would be our mid-card belt, that got changed a couple of times because the original idea, I look back at it and it sucked. It was really bad. But we've had the belt and it looks fantastic.
It is awesome. It certainly makes a statement.
And so we got all the belts. We thought on paper they looked fantastic. We got them made. They got sent back. They got sent to us, and we looked at them in person, and we fell in love. They were amazing. Yeah. I kind of obviously the heavyweight belt has been in my house for about a year.
Right.
Just up on my wardrobe, watching me sleep, and yeah, it's been a bit empty since without it. I know it wasn't my belt. I wasn't the champ, but it's my belt.
Yeah.
And then now Cayman's gone and stole it, and I was probably on his wardrobe for it, watching him sleep, or knowing him, he's probably hugging it to sleep.
Yeah.
But
you can get yourself one made. I know everyone. All these you watch all these interviews with these like WWE legends. They've got they just got all the belts they've ever won, replicas of them on the back. It's fine. Get another one. Yeah, you do what you want with it, man. Cool. I'm
happy that we got it, and we got Cayman back, and we were able to do that match. So
that's brilliant.
It was a good feel good moment.
Cool. Back variable. I was intrigued actually. When he said he was going to do that. Firstly, like yourself, whether it would actually happen, and then whether it's going to be a one-off or whatever. And then when I saw him, he posted that night a picture of him in the back. I think he just put something like back in the room, and he had the belt. He looked like he just walked in off the street anyway, in his street clothes. I was like, he's messing around with it at the back, go take a picture. And then obviously, when he came through later on with it, I was like, okay. I wasn't expecting that to happen, but good on him.
I wasn't expecting it to happen.
Did you think you were going home with that belt again?
I did, yeah. There was a lot of talk of people who it could potentially be, but I think he made the most sense.
Yeah, particularly for the first one. Goes down the history books, doesn't it? So
exactly.
Cool. Right, so we'll start wrapping it up. I like to get to this bit. I like to fire a few sort of quick fire questions out. So I put a few new ones in. I will finish on one that I have tried to throw at most of my guests, but I'll put a little bit of spin on it just to get your. Actually, no. Before I get to that, no, a couple of others that I might ask you actually. So your favorite matches. So firstly, have you got a favorite match as a fan that you've seen that you would go back and you'd watch again and again, or has that special moment?
Dusty Rhodes versus Ric Flair in a cage, and I can't remember the pay-per-view or the year, and it's gonna bug me because as soon as I get off here, I'll probably for the
was it one of the Starcades? Did he do that? I know he did it with Harley Race.
Yeah.
Cool. I am just checking now, just because I got to do it.
I think it might have been for the NWA title.
Yeah. I think they were feuding with that one. I can't find it for me, but okay, good choice. Ideal. I think most of Flair's title matches from back in those days I haven't seen them all, obviously, but his ones with Harley Race. Harley Race wasn't one that I really liked to watch all that much when I was growing up until I wound it back and I saw, what he was doing over there. So cool. So flip it over a little bit. Your favorite match as a wrestler, have you got one that sticks in your mind, or an in-ring moment which you would put up there as your favorite?
My favorite match, I've got two, but the first one no one have seen, because there was about 20 people in the crowd and it wasn't filmed, which was against an old Celtic guy called Jesse Gilbert, and we wrestled in Newport. And when we come back through the curtain, you had the whole roster there just clapping their hands for us, which was crazy to me at that time. But other than that, it would have been 2018. I'm going to say October 2018. I had my first in the trio of matches with Sid Oakley. I absolutely adored that match. That match it felt good, and I was on a high for days, which doesn't happen often anymore. But yeah, that match I feel was special for both of us.
Yeah. You can. I suppose you're always striving to have that moment, that kind of moment again. But it's good to have them to look back on, I'm sure.
Yeah, we tried to do, like, we've done the second match and we've done the third match, and we tried to make them bigger and better. But I just don't think the sequel's never as good as the original.
No, that's true. Yeah, true in all walks of life, isn't it, really? But yeah.
Unless it's the Terminator.
That's very true. That's very true. Yeah, I mean, that's a rabbit hole we can go down, I'll tell you. I get the hype with the second one, but the first one always just, the first Terminator film was one of the first films that really freaked me out.
Yeah.
As a kid, and I think that still has that. So it's like, you can't turn Arnie face if you're saying it in wrestling.
Yeah.
Wrestling. Regards. Can't do it.
It was fun.
Right. This has been fantastic talking to you. I could probably sit here for another hour and sort of go down memory lane and you talk about what you've done. But I will have to wrap it up. Let's get some fun quickfire questions on the go. So starting at the top, WWE or AEW?
Ooh, after this weekend, AEW. I watched All Out. It was All Out, wasn't it? Yeah. I thought it was fantastic, top to bottom. Yeah. I don't think there was a bad match on the card. And then all the surprise appearances, you had like inklings that they were going to be there, but then you didn't know if they were going to be there. But then they were there, and it was fantastic.
You've only got to look at the reception that CM Punk got. Everybody knew. I think it was the worst kept secret.
Yes,
but it had all that hype, and it just I've seen the videos, but chills really. The very few moments I watched it. Yeah, and I am a big Punk fan. He's probably one of the only ones from the last sort of 15, 20 years who I can listen to for hours.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, you talk about a talker, so that's cool. I think a lot of people's opinions on AEW are about to change or have changed.
They definitely have. Mine.
Yeah. There's a lot of. I was wondering as well. Were they just becoming another WCW by just taking in all these old WWE rejects, as it were? But I think the guys that they've snapped up, most of them aren't like rejects. WWE just didn't really know what to do with them. How best. Exactly. I think they've started to come unstuck.
Yeah.
There we go. That's me. The Rock or Steve Austin?
The Rock.
Cool. Your favorite Rock moments? Just to throw
the promo for, I think it was Armageddon 2000 for the 6-man Hell in a Cell match.
Is that the one where it imitates them all?
Yes.
Yeah.
that promo was fantastic.
That is cool. That is cool. So you probably already answered this question, kind of, while we've been talking really, but Ric Flair or Hulk Hogan?
Flair all day.
Glad you say that.
Hated Hogan.
He was one of those. So I got into wrestling in '91. So he was obviously massive. He was the one there, and it was my cousin who got me into it. And we then for a couple of years we each got something, birthdays, Christmas, and that we each got wrestling stuff. I got Hulk Hogan, he got the Ultimate Warrior, and I was just like, the Ultimate Warrior is just the cooler one of the two.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, yeah, fine. Again,
wouldn't really pick any, but if you had to pick, it'd be
Warrior. Exactly. And then Bret Hart came through, and that was that really for me. So, right, I've really got to put you on the spot with this one. You may need to take a moment to think about this. I don't know. But who would be on your Mount Rushmore of wrestling? Everyone's got one, I'm sure.
Dusty, Flair, Harley Race, Austin and Cena.
Ooh. That's 5, isn't it? You're putting a 5th one in there.
Wait, it was supposed to be 4?
4, I think. I think it's 4. I don't know. I always thought it was 4. Hang on. Bear with.
It might be 4.
But so you got to get rid of one. Hang on. Let me check the picture. 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there you go. You got to lose someone.
Right. Okay. I'll lose Harley Race and Cena.
Fair dues. Okay. Controversial, but
yeah,
I like it.
Even for me,
you can't deny the impact that Cena had. I mean, he was he picked up pretty much where Austin that left off, I think. So yeah, fair dues. Right, final question. This is the one that I when I started this podcast, I did throw at all my special guests, so it's only right that I give it the Dangerous Danny Owens treatment. Bit of a twist. I always used to ask if you could put yourself in a match at any WrestleMania over the years against anyone, who would you want a WrestleMania match with? But you can choose now either WrestleMania or All Out, whatever AEW's equivalent. That sort of big, massive moment, if you ever had one.
I'd like to play the part of The Rock at Mania 17.
Cool. That's very cool. Yeah. So actually, okay, yeah, that's the one where Austin turned heel on him.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Still one of the most shocking moments, isn't it?
Yes, it was. And I think, was it the next day on Raw, then the 2-man power trip become a thing?
I think so.
Yeah. Fantastic. I love those days.
I was quite, so I just dropped, it's mainly because in 2000, we no longer had Sky past the King of the Ring. So I missed out really. I had to rely on, again, the magazines and the website as it was back then. And I was there when Channel 4 picked it up, that's right. And it was round about that time, sort of 2001, 2002. So I was shocked when they put them two together. It's just not something but it worked. Especially when they had all the belts.
Yes,
for that
it was
time.
amazing.
That was quite cool.
And then feuding with the Brothers of Destruction as well. Oh.
Yeah. Couldn't have gone better. And then you put the Hardys in there. I think Jeff Hardy had a bit of a thing, didn't he, or even both of them possibly.
And then a little bit with Austin after.
Yeah. Very cool. It's good times. I think that was probably the last sort of classic time that I can put my finger on. Cool. Anyway, Danny, this has been amazing, mate. Thank you so much for sparing your time. It's been a joy speaking to you. Before I let you go, you've plugged obviously a little bit of what Pro Wrestling Karnage is doing next, but yourself, where can people find you, keep up to date with what you're doing, where you're going to be, anything that you want to plug?
Dangerous Danny Owens on Facebook, or Beers and Beatdowns on Facebook if you want to do the tag team gimmick as well. We've got Pro Wrestling Karnage on Facebook. I'm on Instagram with Dangerous Danny Owens and Karnage. I can't remember the app because I'm awful at Instagram. and I have someone else that does the media side of Pro Wrestling Carnage as well, because I'm just not very good.
There
So
you go.
I get someone else to do it for me.
But you won't have any problem, trust me, searching for either yourself or Pro Wrestling Carnage. And I implore anyone out there to do both. So
Thank you very much.
thank you, Danny. Thanks. Best of luck with everything that Karnage and yourself have got going on. I'll be keeping an eye on it. Maybe even one day I might make it up there and see you guys in person. That'd be quite cool. So,
that would be really cool. You should do it.
I will do. But cool. Thank you for your time, mate. And hopefully maybe speak again.
See you soon.
Cheers, mate.